Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's member showcase of the Decentralized AI Agent Alliance. I'm Luke Kerner, and I think we're going to have a good showcase today. We always start all of the DAIAA meetings with our mission, and our mission is to foster the development and proliferation of decentralized AI agents through education, activism, research, and events. We've got two great showcase presenters today, Cited. Hey, Scott, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. And where are you dialing in from?
Yeah, I'm based in New Jersey. So, and then
Yeah.
my co-founder, who I've known for a long time and done several companies with, Jennifer Valenti, she is out in the LA area, so she's
All right.
joining. And then John Colkin, who's our systems architecture head of architecture, he's a Scranton guy. So we've got a couple East Coasters and one West Coaster.
Is Jennifer related? Jennifer, you here?
I'm here. Yes. Hi. Nice to see you again, Lou.
Hey, nice to see you again, Jennifer. I forget if I knew. Are you related to Jack?
So my ex-husband is, yes.
Ah, okay.
It's funny. That's the first time I've been asked in a really long time.
Yeah. I'm fourth generation Hollywood. And I
Oh,
was actually friends with who was your ex-husband? I was friends. I forget. I knew one of the sons.
well, my ex-husband is Paul Valenti. But yes, he is Jack's cousin. He's like his second cousin.
Okay.
Yeah.
In any case, welcome and
Thank you.
thanks, Scott. And then our other speakers. So, Scott, we'll be starting with you. And our other featured guest today is Adam Miller. Welcome, Adam.
Thank
Beta Briefing.
you.
You're dialing in from Orange County.
That's right, Orange County, California.
Yeah, Adam is also the organizer of Crypto Mondays, Orange County. So real quick, the agenda today, we'll be handing it off pretty quickly to our featured guests, but we'll go over some membership statistics. And if there are any new DAIAA members here today and you haven't introduced yourself before at one of our prior meetings, please do so today. And if there are any members that want to give updates, it's an opportunity to give a quick update. And then we'll give an update of DAIAA itself quickly, and then we'll hand it off to our featured guests. And if there's time at the end, after each featured guest, we'll have time for Q&A. And if there's more time at the end, we'll have an open discussion. And so with that, the statistics, we're up to 212 DAIAA members plus 12 since the last showcase. So we're still growing nicely. And if there are any new members here today, we'll I will stop sharing just for a moment. I didn't look over, but any new members here would like to quickly introduce themselves? Once, twice. Okay. No new members.
Well, I think Pedro had his hand
Oh,
raised.
Pedro, you got your hand up?
Hey guys, just to say hi, first time on the call. Thanks, Lou. Thank you for being extreme Web3 believer, man. Appreciate that. I know it's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to learn from everybody. I also see Adam, from MeDAO, I guess, right?
My DAO. Yeah.
My DAO.
Marshall Islands
That's
DAO.
right.
Yeah, I know. Our company is set up with them. So
Yeah. Crypto Mondays is
can't
a Marshall Island DAO.
hey,
We're big
all
fans.
right. So, all right, that's it. Anyway, pleasure to meet everybody. Bye.
Yeah. And Pedro, what are you doing in the decentralized AI agent space?
So since end of 2023, I've been building talent protocol with focus on builder reputation data. And for the past few months, we've been shifting to agent reputation. All right. So in terms of decentralized, that means that some of the data points are decentralized, and it means another thing. Is like if you look at Anthropic and OpenAI, that they can come up with their own marketplaces and so on, and their own ratings and reputation engines, but it's going to be a verticalized approach. We want to do it horizontally as well.
Super interesting. I think you talked too about having you guys showcase at a future showcase.
I wanted to get the gist how you
No,
guys do it,
definitely.
and then
Welcome.
go
Yeah,
from.
get the gist of it. Welcome. Any other new members want to introduce themselves? Okay. Let me go back to the presentation. And then there we go. And then any members want to make a quick announcement about something going on?
Sure, I'll make a quick announcement.
All right. Hey, Steve.
Hey, let me see if I can switch back and do my video. Real exciting stuff. So a couple of things, and just want to invite people to contact me offline if anything here is of interest. We've got ClawCamp Collective, which is closely aligned with the decentralized AI group, and that's exploding. We're actually going to be launching a summer camp, which will be starting in June through July, and we're doing this in coordination also with the with Future Caribbean, which is a which is a Bill Nye led initiative, and it's going to culminate in a big. That initiative is a 3-week hackathon virtual, but then we're going to be culminating this whole summer of activities. First, many chapters all over the world doing events throughout the summer camp period, and then culminating with San Francisco first week in August. And then I'm also spinning that up as a nonprofit, and look forward to.
You want to leave some links?
Yeah. I'll ping and leave something, and then just wanted to get that out there. And then one last thing, working with Peter Voss. He's godfather of AI, and working on a new project. If anybody's interested in getting involved with that, I want to just throw that out there.
Wow, that sounds super cool as well. Thanks, Stephen. Anybody else? Okay, let me go back. I don't need to share the presentation. And just quickly run through it. Crypto Mondays, it's our own community management AI agent, Agent Monday, is now in beta. So I'll leave a link for that. And as far as DAIAA updates, our next general meeting is June 1st. Everyone should have an invite. We'll get a Loom page out for that shortly. If anybody has suggestions for the featured guest for the next general meeting, it'd be great to get some suggestions. Crypto Mondays Paris is in 2 weeks for Proof of Talk. If anybody's in Paris for Proof of Talk, I have not been, but I've heard it's a great conference in Paris. It'll be good Crypto Monday Paris on the 1st, and then the next DAIAA Showcase is June 15th. And with that, I think we can hand it over to our first showcase presenter, Scott Lee with Cited. Scott?
Awesome. Thanks, Lou. Appreciate it. Well, before I jump into the deck and share a couple slides, just quick round robin. I think, is there anybody that hasn't heard of or familiar with GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, or AEO, as it might be also known as?
Engine optimization, I guess.
Yeah. And it's kind of, you typically.
Yeah. Oh, Sam admitted.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice. Good. I was hoping somebody was new to it at least. Or I think a majority of us might have heard the term, this AEO, GEO. I think we've all definitely heard of SEO. It's been around for a decade plus. Search engine optimization. GEO basically is the same thing for agentic AI, right? So it's generative engine optimization. And that's what we do at Cited. I'll share the deck here in a second, but I just kind of want to gauge everybody's familiarity. We go from have never heard of it, AI seems cool, depending on who we're talking to within our marketing agencies. Yes, we're familiar with it, or yeah, we're knee deep in it. We use Claude Code and Claude Work, and we're all about it. So we kind of run the gamut. I think it's probably a pretty good mix here too. But I think for the most part, as I'm going, I've got 8 slides. So I didn't want to PowerPoint you guys to death, but interrupt me as we're going. And also, like I said, my colleague Jen and John are both on. John comes from AWS background, has been an architect his whole career, and Jen was one of the pioneers of AI. She actually literally turned up the first COE and ran the first AI engagements at Citi back in the day. And she and I have worked at several companies together. So you've got some really good expertise here when it comes to traditional AI, intelligent automation, and then what we've been doing around agentic AI for the last 2 years now when we built Cited. Let me just share the deck here. And Peter, I think pretty much everybody knows Peter. We're here because of Peter.
Everyone.
He's doing some advisory work for us and has been a great voice and somebody that's really helped us kind of steer the ship, if you will, on how we're doing go to market and also helping with some of the fundraising. So those of you who are friends with and know Peter well, he's also a great resource.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, let me know when you've got my screen. Everybody got it? Good.
Yep. Just need to
Okay.
move it to
Great.
to max it.
Okay, so a few stats. Some of these sound familiar. It's funny how many times we've had to update this deck and this slide. It started out, a year, almost 2 years ago. It was 30% of searches are zero click, and then it was 40, and then 65, and then 75, and then now it's up to 83. And I think that's not going to stick around very long either. And by zero click, we mean basically people are going on, they're asking a question, whether it's in Google, Gemini, and just the traditional way they used to search. They see their answer in the AI overview and they move on. I don't think anyone really can kind of argue that point anymore. We were first having this conversation. People are like, "Oh yeah, I still sometimes like to scroll and I like to click," and I think for the most part, I'd say it's well into the 90s. Most of us, especially the people who are running businesses or have played with or in touch with AI on a daily basis, we're nobody's scrolling anymore. You're asking the questions, even if it's just something as simple as in Google and getting the AI overview. But most of us now have gone to the next level where we just live in the LLMs, right? And we all kind of have our favorites.
Do you have,
I'm a Claude guy.
do you have any
Yeah,
sense
go ahead,
for
Lou.
what is happening to Google search volume?
It's That's actually a great question. I don't know the actual stat, but I know that the 17% on the right, that 17% is now just ChatGPT. And that's the first time anyone's hit double digits in the last 2 decades to pull away from Google.
When you
So
say of
there's
all
their searches
and
of all search, of all queries.
and what's the data source? I mean, that sounds crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll pull up the data source.
Okay.
I've got an appendix slide at the end, but yeah, that's the first time in 20 plus years that Google's really been that threatened. But it continues
Well,
to
what percentage
every
of those
single
are
week it
Google? I
continues to
wonder,
go up.
because I feel I'm asking AI. I'm often asking Google
You're
AI
talking about what
something.
percentage of the 83%?
No, of the 17%.
Well, 17% is just ChatGPT.
Oh, that's just
Literally
ChatGPT. Well, now supposedly
17%.
ChatGPT is now behind Anthropic.
Supposedly, well, they say that ChatGPT is behind Claude when it comes to getting work done. But from a pure search perspective, Chat is still ahead of Claude. But for like I personally, I'm a Claude guy. I live in Claude. I'll play with Perplexity. I'll do some chat here and there. But most of what I do, I just literally live in Claude all day, every day. There's some people that do the same thing when it comes to chat. And there's
Sure.
some that,
Okay. And anyways, we move on from here. And also, if you want to
yep.
make the presentation full
Oh,
screen.
full screen? Sure. Yep. Is that better?
Yes. Thank you.
Great. The real point here is the pure volume of people that are no longer scrolling. And so what's happening, the whole reason that GEO came about was a concern of SEO is no longer getting the job done. It's expensive, and the way it's been done for years and years and years was fine, but because of the behaviors and the shift of consumers, whether they're on the
And I'm
business
sorry,
side or
when you say it's expensive, I simply think that people pay up until the value of whatever the click is worth.
yeah, but that can really add up when you talk about small business. You talk about like a small pizza place or a small restaurant or even a chain of restaurants. SEO can run, oh gosh, anywhere between 5 and 10 grand a month. Whereas you can do the same thing from a GEO perspective for $400 a month.
Or you're just saying just the optimization for it. Okay.
The optimization and the visibility. So showing up in AI search, which is
Yeah.
how more and more people are searching for things, right? So instead of going to Google and saying, "Hey, I want the best pizza place in Point Pleasant Beach," they're doing that, and they're not scrolling anymore. They're not going to Yelp. They're not going to read all the reviews. AI is saying, "These are your top three, and here's why." And they're like, "Cool, great. I want to try that one. Moving on." Right? Or if they do that in ChatGPT, it's the same concept, right? And if your website is not optimized to appear in those AI searches, you're just not showing up. It's like going backwards. You might have spent all this money. SEO is still important. We're not saying it's dead. There's a lot of people like to say SEO is dead because it's provocative and it's gets clicks and all that. But we're not really
If
into
you're a
having
Google
religious
shareholder, you're happy
conversations.
it's
It's
dead.
it's still very important.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of concepts around SEO that have been pulled into AEO and GEO that are important, but it is dramatically shifted. It's no longer about backlinks and keyword stuffing and the traditional SEO models. It's around having, an MCP server. It's around having, your robot text files, your LLMS text files, you're having your schemas. There's a lot of different things that go into GEO that are optimizing your website to be found and seen as an authority in AI search.
Yeah, makes sense. I assume that's on future slides.
Yep. Yep. So there's four stages to what we've built around Cited and what we think is really important. One is you have to start with an audit, right? So comprehensive AI audit, it goes in and it measures 40 different pieces of information, really does a web crawl, scans your website, and really shows you how your brand shows up as an authority or not at all in AI search, and then what's completely missing. And then what we do from there, and I'll show everybody. I've got a couple screenshots. I'm not going to do a live demo, but anybody that wants to do that, I think Peter put in the link. You can actually just go on our website for free. You don't have to sign up for anything. You can just literally plug your URL and run an audit. You can run an instant audit and get some initial results back.
How long has this been live?
This has been live since January is when we took it. Yeah. So, and we've done a couple of iterations. They say if you're not embarrassed by your first
Yeah.
launch, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, famous Reid Hoffman line.
Yeah, we're like 15 in right now. But it's the fun part about being a startup these days, and I think everybody on this call knows, is you don't have to wait 6 weeks for code and to ship. And I mean, we ship overnight all the time. And that's the beauty of what AI has allowed us to do, in the way that we built our platform.
And what's been the biggest learning over since January?
Oh gosh, Jen, you can chime in here, but I'll give probably the biggest learning has been and it's funny because this is nothing new. This is the same that's been for product companies since the beginning of time, but it's more prevalent now. Is what you think is cool is the customer may not care at all about.
That's right.
And we built this great, amazing dashboard with all these amazing feature sets that we're like, people are gonna love this, and they're like, make it simpler, make it simpler, make it simpler. I'm like, how about now? They're like, even simpler. So Jen, I don't know, you want to add?
Yes, I did that. And I think our biggest learning, honestly, is to try to figure out how to integrate the technology that we're using when it is evolving with us and ahead of us. That has been probably the most interesting challenge that we've had. I think when OpenClaw came on to the scene, that's really been a huge groundbreaking opportunity for us.
Trying to think what that
was
was like. When was that November? I'm trying to.
No, it was earlier this year.
It was early this year. Okay.
Yeah, it's only been a couple months.
Exactly. And so because this technology is moving as fast as it is, we obviously want to be able to be in lockstep or maybe even just a little bit behind just so that we can kind of give the front line time to work itself out. But it's been the biggest challenge for us is to deliver what we want to deliver and what we consider to be the typical user experience, but make it automated, right? So make it easy button, as Scott would say, and make it so that the people that are using it don't actually have to use it. And that's really been our biggest challenge, is integrating that. And we've now figured out how to do that because the technology came, sort of manifested itself for us. But I think, getting to that point and really observing and absorbing all of our customer feedback and then trying to figure out how to roll that out in a rollout schedule was our biggest challenge. And now I think we're just flowing a lot better.
Interesting. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yep. So here's how DAIAA turned out on the first audit we ran.
Oh, yes. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. So we've got some work to
It
do.
wasn't good.
And the good news
Yes.
is you guys get it for free, nonprofit. So we'll get you guys set up with that, Lou, and we've already come up with some solutions and recommendations. One thing going back real quick, that's really important to know that I kind of glossed over is most people stop here. Most of the tools will give you an audit. This is not that hard to do. You can actually do an audit, really. If you want to do it on your own, you don't even need a tool, depending on how deep you want to go. This part here, the optimization, is the hard part and what most are missing. Some might give you like some articles, like, hey, you're missing this, and this, write some articles and off you go. Or maybe put this into your schema and off you go. That's not really moving the needle when it comes to the results and how you're showing up. We take it 3 or 4 steps deeper when it comes to not only here are the solutions and the recommendations, but here's the JSON. Do you want to go ahead and put it in now? Do you want to make that? And then what we're coming out with here in the next few weeks is what Jen alluded to, even tighter integrations where do you want us to just go ahead and do that on your WordPress site or your Wix site, or even if you have something custom, and then we'll have like a simple human in the loop approval, and you won't even have to copy and paste JSONs. It'll just make the changes for you. So we'll come back to this. We'll get you guys set up. We already have some recommendations and solutions. The great thing here is when you start out at 5%, 2%, share of voice was actually pretty decent on the 5 questions that we asked, the 5 prompts basically. It's pretty. You can get up into the double digits pretty quick with some simple fixes that most people are like, oh yeah, I should have had that turned on, or yeah, I can drop that into my web server and start showing up in a lot more results. So these are some of the numbers. These are directly from our customers that we've seen. So we've been a huge visibility increase. So we've got a bunch because we're based in New Jersey, we have a bunch of New Jersey customers. Our customers really fall into 2 categories. One, they're marketing agencies. So agencies that run outsource marketing for other brands, right? So most people that are running websites, running full-scale marketing, SMB, mid-market, small enterprise, and then large enterprise customers who have teams, but are looking for a tool to help them be more efficient. Those are our 2 sets of customers, really.
Makes sense.
The increased visibility has been huge. Our customers that have implemented, are using the tool, implemented the changes, are seeing within 2 to 3 weeks, are seeing massive increase in visibility.
Cool.
Citations going up, which is key, really. So being visible is important. Being the recommendation is the most important thing, right? So when somebody says, hey, show me the top, crypto nonprofit in the US that focuses on AI, you want to show up, you want to be the answer. We want DAIAA to show up and be like, oh, you should be attending, you should be a member of DAIAA. Oh, great, I want to join that. Click. So that's really important. And then there's a big thing that gets missed is the accuracy. There's so many of our clients that we see that will go in and they'll run these audits and be like, Why is it showing up? Why is that person mentioned? They haven't been, part of the company in 3 years, yet they're in the top, they're the answer. So there's a lot of inaccuracies that AI picks up. You guys have seen this when you've used it.
Yeah.
Hallucinations, inaccuracies, it can help you fix those. So here's, typically kind of what we call the big three. Profound is probably everybody's mostly heard of Profound. They're the Sequoia backed, they're the we
Yeah,
want to
I
go
don't think we need to talk about any of the other guys.
Say it one more time, Lou.
I don't think we have to talk about any of the other guys.
Good. I like it. We'll skip this slide. Here's the three pricing levels. This is how, somebody wants to get started. They start for $39 a month. Growth is
And
where
what have
most
you
of our
found
customers
about
sit.
what have you found about kind of pricing? Are people, like first, who's the customer base, and that how price sensitive? I guess $20 for Claude gives you a lot.
It does. It does. And for builders and people who like to build, it's awesome, right? John, who's an architect by nature, loves Claude. He's in Claude co-work every day. He's doing stuff that John
Well,
is
again,
not our
not
customer.
that individual, like, because you're seeing a lot of people. Are they becoming more sensitive, less sensitive, or it's early days?
It's early days still. It's GEO is still very early. We launched in January. We were working on the product for quite some time, but it's still so early, and there's so many people coming and going. On that last slide, the other two, Profound and Searchable, they've changed their pricing model like 6 times each in like the last 4 months. We haven't changed ours at all, because what we've provided we think is pretty valuable. The feedback on the pricing has been pretty solid. Most of the people sit in that growth, the middle one. Some of our larger customers on the agency side sit in the 299 Pro. We have unlimited businesses, unlimited users. Really, the only thing we limit is the number of audits, and you'd have to try really hard to run out of them. So that's kind of the presentation. I want to keep it short and sweet. I want to give time for questions, and not PowerPoint you guys to death. What questions?
So I asked some questions. So, during it, I thought it was helpful. But if anybody else has anything they'd like to ask Scott, it'd be great. Ty?
Yeah, super cool. I think the main thing I found, because I've been doing
Ty,
all this stuff.
Ty, you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Oh, for sure. So I am Ty Smith. I'm from Hashgraph or Hedera. So I'm sort of I've been working on decentralized protocols and decentralized computing systems for about 6 years, and then for 3.5 years, I've been working on the convergence of Web3 and AI, and how they sort of play together. In brief, I think very, very well. Like AI needs a cryptographic proof to sign something so that you know it did it, or to stop it from doing something and having actual enforceable policies, which we live in the worst case scenario where we don't even have the laws of robotics out there. We're putting in healthcare and warfare, and we have no actual knowledge of what's going on inside these neural nets.
Yep.
That aside, not trying to go doom and gloom right now. So everything is always changing. So what's your company's strategy to continually stay upon the bleeding edge of the new way that Google is sensing and digesting information? Because what was right a week ago with a new model can be wrong, especially if they trained it on different data. So it's like, how are you attacking that problem?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I
Jen,
can
are you
take that.
still?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the great thing about this is that the models we're really dependent on the models. We're not changing any of the models. So in terms of the inputs that our customers are getting, that's really in the control of the models that we are querying. So there really isn't a huge issue with that because we don't own that tech. We're just serving up what the outcome is of the query or the prompt. But what we are doing, and some of our sort of secret sauce, is that we're guiding our users more strategically with respect to the markets they need to be going after. So that is a sort of a differentiator for us, because we obviously cannot change what the model is. We can't change hallucinations, et cetera. But what we can do, and what our IP does, is that it actually scores whether or not the prompts that our users are going after are correct. So for example, if I am, and I use this example a lot because it just kind of works in terms of the markets that we're looking at. Let's say I'm just like a up and coming streetwear designer. I have a new athleisure line. I'm in Venice, California, and I'm going to put in a prompt, to see who the best athleisure brands are. Obviously, Lululemon and Nike and the big brands are going to come up. Do I want to compete with that? Of course not. So my strategy as a tool is to tell my user, hey, I can see that as a potential North Star for a long-term strategy, but here are some short-term ways that you can go after a different market that's wide open for you. There's a street fair in Venice, and this is how you can market to that, et cetera. So we're actually going to be providing more strategic approaches and scoring whether or not the prompt that's being used is valuable to the user. So in terms of it just keeps us completely agnostic to what's happening downstream in the models. And then now actually puts the power into our agent's hand, our agent meaning our automated agent, to be able to facilitate this new strategy that we're driving for the user, and all the user has to do is approve it.
Yeah. One other thing on top of that too, Ty, is as the technologies evolve, we're evolving how we're serving that up. So great example, in the last 2 weeks, we've rolled out our own MCP server, right? Because that's really hot right now. Everybody's all over the MCP, and we're like, oh, this is a great way. Some people, I personally, I'm an old school guy. I like to go into the engine, I like to use the platform. I like the user interface. A lot of people, John's a great example. John's like, I don't want to do that. I live in Claude work. So I want I want to literally just tell Claude work to at night serve up all my audits, serve up my recommendations, go ahead and implement the changes, and then when I wake up, I want to see the results. So there's a lot of people that are like, I don't want to go into a user interface anymore. I'm going to do it in Claude, or I'm going to do it in chat, and I'm going to use those agents to do my work for me instead of me actually doing it. So those are ways that we're essentially trying to stay ahead of, or alongside of the changing technologies, if that answers your question, Todd.
And I do want to address one thing that Lou said, because he brought up a good point with respect to our pricing and whether or not we're going to get pressure in terms of the pricing model. And the answer is no. And I'll tell you why. Because the majority of people don't know how to use that technology. We're in a really small, tiny 1%, right? Even on this call, that understand this technology, understand how to leverage it the way they could leverage it. So we're not worried about that. The majority of users, they barely know how to go through their emails. And that's not it's not a pejorative statement. It's just really people are busy. They're not as technical. They want things done for them. And that's our market.
Makes sense. So thanks for that. And Steve, I see you got a hand up, but we got one other speaker. But if we have time at the end, I might be able to bring that up. And then also, Scott, Jennifer, if you can leave your contact info if people want to follow up as well, that'd be great. And if you can hang around. So that was really interesting. And next, I thought Adam Miller be up next, talk about beta briefing. This is, a tool that I found helpful. So in terms of bringing value to DAIAA members, I thought it'd be helpful for other folks to learn about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Lou. Yeah, nice to see you guys. So beta briefing is the AI that reads the internet for you every morning. The problem it's trying to solve is information overload. It's just way too much stuff out there to follow all of it. And even if you could read everything on the internet every morning, you wouldn't know what to trust. And so what beta briefing does is overnight, really just in about 15 minutes, it performs over 100 searches for you based on your profile you set up ahead of time. And I'll show you a little bit of what that looks like. It scans thousands of sources from all those searches. It reads hundreds of articles in full, or web pages, not always even news, but just new things on the internet, and then selects a few dozen stories to present to you. It also has a memory. So it's not only tuned by you, and the AI helps tune it based on your profile, but it has a memory. So it knows what it's told you in the past. It knows what it told you yesterday. And so it doesn't just tell you the same thing about the Iran war every single day, for example, or AI agents, right? It looks at what's new versus what it's told you before and shares with you what's new. Beta briefing is not decentralized. It's just AI and agentic. MyDAO, which is actually the member of DAIAA, the reason that I'm here initially is my day job, and MyDAO has a legal entity made for AI agents. So if you want to learn more about that or what the legal issues are that face AI agents, check out the QR code or go to guides.mydao.org. But with that, let's turn to a demo.
Go back to the previous page. I mean, if you want to, because this is super interesting about why they would want to domicile their AI agent in the Marshall Islands. So if you want to spend a minute or two talking about that, I think that's great content.
Good idea. Yeah, sounds great. So, if if the purpose of your AI or your AI agent is to act on behalf of yourself or your company, then this is a non-issue for the most part, right? It's just like any other piece of software you built that has users. You probably want a terms of use or put it in your contract with your customers, stuff like that. And then everything the AI does, its assets, its liabilities, its arrangements, is just on behalf of you or your company. But the trend, I know a lot of people here are even working on this kind of thing, either enablement or doing it themselves, is to actually create AI agents that live out in the world on their own, that are agentic, and that have their own assets and liabilities. Right? You don't want what the AI does to come back to you or your company. You want it to be independent. And so for cases like that, that's where AI agents need legal personhood. So just like any other company, the AI agent with a legal entity like the Digital LLC in the Marshall Islands, it actually becomes the manager of a company. It can open a bank account. You may have seen this in the news recently, right? An AI agent opened a bank account with a structure like this, but a US-based structure. This is an offshore structure. It's kind of like the Cayman Island has good nonprofit options and stuff like that.
And again, just a quick sec, tell them why the Marshall Islands, right? It's not just like some random island nation.
Yeah, so the Marshall Islands for several decades has been one of the top jurisdictions in the shipping industry. So there are NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange companies that are Marshall Islands registered companies. And so we've worked with them over the last 5 years to expand their expertise into also being a leading jurisdiction in Web3. So there are some top crypto projects that are already registered in the Marshall Islands. And AI agents were just a natural next extension of that kind of digital strategy to go from Web3 into AI as well. The other thing is that, originally this digital LLC was made for DAOs. It's now for Web3 in general, but DAOs, share something in common with AI agents in terms of the importance of governing AI agents, right? And so whether you structure your AI governance as a DAO or just three people who are voting, you still need humans that govern the AI and basically elect and unelect that AI as if it were a human manager. And so humans are still responsible ultimately and still have to register with the government, but you get that liability shield, liability protection, just like any other company for your AI agent.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. If anyone wants to stop me, feel free to stop me too and ask more, or we can take questions at the end too. So demos are fun. Okay, so just an example of what a beta briefing looks like. There's an anonymized version that's posted to the web, a more personalized version that goes to your email inbox. There's an RSS feed. There's a link where you can subscribe in your favorite podcast app to your own briefing. So I usually listen to my briefing in the morning via my podcast app. And then you can see that there's also different levels of the depth that you can choose. It's like this is a deeper version. It has 3 sections about each story. Every story has a copy for AI link. So if you click on that, it gives you a bunch of stuff to paste into your favorite AI. So you can ask a follow-up with all the sources in line and all the context in line. Gives you the multiple perspectives on each story when they exist, the different sources that were used in generating the story, etc. And a little bit of a summary on the big picture, what to expect, some quantitative information on that particular run, and again, that podcast link. Also, just this weekend, I launched a more fun kind of dashboard view. One of my concerns was, well, I'm solving the problem of information overload with more information. You already get too many emails and podcasts, and now I'm telling you, here's another email and podcast that solves your problem. So I thought maybe there should be a dashboard where you can just go anytime to pull rather than having that information pushed at you. And so the dashboard, has a lot of different views, ways of organizing the content. I also thought, well, maybe you don't read your briefing over the weekend. maybe you want to then come in and say, well, show me just the top stories from Saturday through Monday, right? And so now you can do that, or you can dig into the Dow's topic and see all the Dow news. You can look at the whole last week if you want to. Pretty soon too. So part of the idea here is also to give people a chat that's just inline in the tool. So you don't even have to copy and paste out, but now you can chat with the agent directly that has a context on all your memories, all your news, all your context about how you like to get your news, etc. So when you're setting up your briefing, it's all free text. You just tell you basically the best way is to actually copy paste a prompt I give you into your favorite AI. It will write your briefing based on everything it already knows about you, and then you paste that back in. But there's also a way to manually edit your topics. You know, how much do you want to prioritize each topic? What are the details of what you want it searching for? Again, so for me, I have eczema here, Newport Beach, in addition to all my work stuff. How deep do you want it to go? Source preference, mainstream versus independent, publications you like to use as a reference point, things to never include. So for me, that's where's the pure price and trading signals and crypto price chatter and reality TV. I don't want that.
When moon.
Editorial guidance, right? How do you like to get your information, etc. And you can also talk to the AI in this box and say, hey, I need you to add me a new topic, etc. Or remove this topic. So you can just tell it in free text and it will update and show you the updates you've requested for you to approve or not. Again, you guys are probably interested in kind of how the sausage is made too. I've created a way. So it's been surprisingly hard. It's always hard to go to market. It's been surprisingly hard for me to get people to try this thing. The people who try it, some of them really love it. They really love it. For me, it's almost the only thing I read now. It's the only thing I read every day. I should say that. But as an example, I built this for myself. So I went in and I just put in this information about Jacob Robinson, who's not here, just a host of a podcast, a guy I know. And I put in that information, and then I built an AI agent that does a bunch of research on him, writes up a profile, rationale, a briefing format, and then creates an invite page, which is exactly this, that says, hey, I built this for you. Here's how I built it. Here's a preview. Here's how we tuned your lens. And then I'll add the full research dossier if the user wants to see, and maybe a little scary. I don't know how much I can know about someone from what's online, but it's all public. And then they can also edit it live here by dragging sliders, by talking to the AI. They choose their time, they hit the button, and they get signed up. And so I think that's one kind of interesting approach to getting people invited to something. So things I'd be interested in, aside from just your questions, how do you get people to try something like this that solves information overload by giving them more information? I think it's an interesting challenge. And then just in general from this, I haven't shared this with a lot of like groups like this. It's mostly just been one-on-one with friends and people in my network, but what's missing from the pitch or the value prop or the product? So I'll pause there and take your input and questions. Thank you.
Well, thanks. I mean, look, I've certainly found it helpful, and yeah, and I think you set it up for me. I don't remember what my onboarding was.
Oh yeah, I don't remember either, but it's possible. The really the best thing is if you copy and paste a prompt into your chat GPT, if that's what you use, and it
Because it
says,
knows you.
write me up a briefing based on the following considerations I'm looking for, based on everything you know about me. It gives you your answer, you copy and paste it back in. That does
Makes
a good
sense.
job. Yeah.
Hey, Dina, good to see you. Got a question for Adam?
Yeah, sure. Two really quick questions. One is first, so one is like sort of the second one will be advice. The first question is, what do you do about like a lot of things I follow are behind paywalls and specialized. So what do you do about that? And then my other question is just, or my other suggestion is that we're seeing this on large scale, and I'm at a large law firm, but for me, like AI, I'm using it all the time, but I have to be limited in certain ways how I use it, not just for accuracy, but because if I want to be really specific about a client, I have to worry about attorney-client privilege. So it has to be a system that's going to make sure, we go through a whole process, and we're a large firm, right, before we approve any type of AI product. So I'm actually like looking at different ones for what I do, which is mostly policy and legislation type of work. And so those are just two things. One is sort of that there are people that really need, data, but they need it to be able to use it in a way that it's going to be kept, like what you're collecting is kept private. And then I guess my question is, what do you do about everything that's behind the firewalls?
Yeah, so in terms of paywalls, it's just going to grab the information that's publicly available. On the plus side, usually once there's something behind a paywall, if it's meaningful, other people write about it too, and it'll see that in full. The other interesting thing, what's been surprising to me is like I cannot use only traditional search tools for this. I have to use things like EXA, which really does a good job of indexing the long tail of the internet. So it's finding blog posts, it's finding GitHub, it's just finding all kinds of stuff that even Google doesn't find. So the hope is that when you search all of that, you'll get a good sense of what's in front of the paywall, at least, or maybe a sense of what's behind it. And then it links you to the full story if you want to see the whole thing. In terms of the compliance question, it's a really good question. I mean, I think, I set this up for a company I'm involved in that has a compliance team. And we just started sharing it out over the company Slack because it just got emailed into Slack, which was a cool delivery mechanism. And right away, the compliance team was like, "What? Oh, you're sending information about us to Anthropic, and how do we know it's safe?" And I said, "Well, it's just asking for news about topics you're interested in. It's not saying anything about your company, but from their perspective, even what they're interested in hearing news about felt like something they didn't want to share with Anthropic. And after further discussion, it was like, oh, I guess this is no more risky than us just like searching Google. but I hear you, and I think it's a valid question. And I think the idea would be when you're setting something like this up, don't put anything in there that is certainly nothing about your clients, but you might even need to think about not sharing a collection of interests that indicates something that you don't want to indicate. So just
Yeah,
like
that's what
using
I'm
any
saying.
other
It's
AI
sort of like
tool.
when you're putting together a collection of various types of articles, it can kind of it can very much message what you're trying to figure out or what you're trying to look at. It almost tell people who the client is.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, the one thing I've done is I can turn off the public anonymized copy for people, so that at least it's not getting posted to the internet. But still, today, everything's just being sent through normal APIs with, OpenAI, 11 Labs, various search engines, Anthropic especially. So, but by the way, I think one of the other interesting things about this from a practitioner perspective, the people in the room is, I built this partly because it's actually very expensive to run today. Uh, I did so much testing to see the lowest I could spend on search, which is still expensive, and AI models. And in the end, I still spend like $2 to $4 per briefing per day, so per user. And I'm not charging anyone anything for this. By the way, this is open for you guys to try sometime in the next month. I'm going to start charging something. But the idea is that this is a business I'd have to fund with investment capital to cover the delta between the gap between what it costs and what people would pay, which I think is probably like $30 a month, something maybe more for enterprise, until the cost of the level of AI capability that it takes to do this well goes down enough that it's actually sustainable and profitable. So it creates kind of a natural moat and also a challenge to run a business like this today.
Yeah. I would call it, the very first TV shows was a guy at a desk with a microphone on and going, "Hey, now we're on television," right? They were just doing radio on television because they didn't know any better. That was all they knew,
Mm.
right? You have now this whole new technology to do brand new things that could never have been done before, not just do something better, right? We all get newsletters, it's just, let's say, a better newsletter. But if it knows about you, right, it can say, "Hey, based on, you're trying to, land this client, based on, everything that happened in the news today, here's a new way that you should approach your clients, this particular client who you're trying to, sell." Right? I mean, who knows, right? It's infinite
Yeah.
what it could be.
Right.
But my guess is that as it evolves over time, it could really evolve into something very different.
Right. And where do you draw the line between like, okay, I'll produce this and it feeds into your own OpenClaw or like your own agentic systems via RSS, and then like your system does the rest, right? Versus trying to do it all. But yeah, it's a great point.
Right. And obviously the question that everybody has about every business in AI is what's the moat, right? As you already talked about.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyways, anybody else have any questions for Adam?
Yeah, I
Sam?
saw Scott and then Sam.
Yep. Okay, sorry, I missed Scott. Scott, if you were first.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, awesome presentation, Adam. This is really cool.
Thank you.
Where, I guess, who's the target? And you talk about, individual versus business, and how do you plan to go after them? You talked about, and we've had that too, right? It's like, how do you get people to try it? It's like the hardest thing to do is just freaking try it. Like, I can't make it any more free than free. Like, I don't like, and so I share your pain
At
there.
Crypto
But
Mondays, we
who are
buy
you?
free drinks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You
Um,
know, yeah, I think it's a great question. What I've found so far, talking to prospective and current users, I think the people who feel the most pain and want this the most are not people who are already reading lots of news and information and feel like they enjoy it and they have a good handle on it. It's people who hate reading news from the current sources, hate their email, hate their they do not like the way they get their information today, or they don't like how much time they have to spend to stay on top of what they have to stay on top of. And so now here's a way to, like, in only maybe 10 minutes reading or 30 minutes listening, to get everything you need. And it's mostly like, I think, founder type people, I would say. Founders, leaders, people that are, at least those are people so far. Yeah, great question.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sam?
Sam, what do you think?
So one, very cool. Two, I built something just like this for myself with no intent to productize it, just to solve a business problem I had. In fact, I gave it a similar name. I called mine Brief Me.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to talk offline and share ideas. But one idea for a moat could be, oh no, one idea for adoption, because that was one of the questions you asked, is you could add a cost to these free accounts you're giving out. Like require people to tweet that they're using a free version or something like that in order to get the free account. So you could do stuff like that. Two, you asked about a moat. I had two ideas I was working on at the same time. Well, one wasn't mine. I thought Brief Me was mine. Turns out it's there's a lot of convergence there. The other one is that popular Carpathy idea of the LLM wiki. So you could tie the two together. So this isn't just a custom news aggregator, but it could be a custom news aggregator that builds a personalized knowledge base. And then the audience for that could be any organization that has to do a lot of research. Like a lot of marketing teams do research about their competitors or whatever market space or sector they're in. And it's very useful for them to be able to go back in history and find out, have we seen patterns like this before? Like during a product announcement, what does a company typically do, or how do people respond to it? Things like that. Yeah,
Thanks.
few ideas.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and
very
by the way,
nice.
it's
I'm impressed.
also, I was building this for myself. I spent 2 years trying to get ChatGPT, Claude, or Google to be able to do this without building a custom agentic workflow. And you may have found the same thing, Sam, before trying to build it yourself too. They cannot do it. They don't have the search capability. They're not willing to put the cost in. ChatGPT Pro model through the UI actually got pretty good, but it won't let you automatically run it once a day. So,
Yeah,
you
my
know,
specific problem was I had two different groups of X accounts, and I needed to know the intersection if one was tweeting about the other. So I had to build pipelines
yeah.
of tweets and score them for relevance to the topic I was interested in, score them for novelty, because I just didn't want repetition, or I could use the lack of novelty to detect whether there's like amplification of a particular idea, like lots of different sources are talking about the same thing. That was also interesting to me.
Yeah.
And then I can group those different scoring mechanisms to do different things like fill a wiki.
Yeah.
I'm just jumping in again. I have another idea. I don't know if this will fit your audience because I am around people that read the news. But that's what I do for a living pretty much is read the news nonstop. But and I'm around a lot of people. We all struggle, my world, trying to figure out, up with everything. But the one thing that people need is that's been dying and people really need it is the local news and what's happening in the local communities. And that's true of a lot of businesses. And so I don't know if you've thought at all about using your tool as a way to like work with some
Wow.
of these more, you know,
That's
local
super
kind of
interesting.
local kind of news sources that have been kind of dying off, but that people need to use. Like
It's a
in
good
large
idea.
parts of the country, right? People depend on that local news.
Yeah. And relatedly, there's the idea of just like identify a list of briefings that would appeal to a lot of people and just build those 1,000 briefings and like push them out through automated pipelines, including it could be like local city news, and then just be a media business that like produces all this great AI content. Right now I'm leaning into the personalized angle. But yeah, but separate from your great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, well, thanks, Adam. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everyone. That was a great session. Happy Crypto Mondays.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Lou.
Crypto
Thanks, everybody.
Mondays.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
See you, Steve.